On the 22nd of August 1978, Major General Dedan Gichuru, then Commander of the Kenya Air Force, receives a call from State House.
I was called after midnight by the ADC to the President, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta. We want you to come to Mombasa immediately. We want 2 planes, and you must be in one of them.
The general quickly made arrangements for 2 planes to take off from Isili for Mombasa. Mission still unknown.
I rang the station and I said I want 2 buffaloes to be made ready. And I'll be one of the pilots, so look for the crew for the other members of the crew. In my plane, it was myself, Kano Tambo, and Julius Karangi.
He then receives strict instructions to park the plane away from public eye.
And then we landed at Mombasa at around 6 o'clock. And then I called Macharia and said, we have landed. Yeah, could you park the plane near the fire station, that is away from the public? And then the casket came.
The mission was top secret, and they had orders to keep the news away from the public.
I was called by the Chief Secretary, Mr. Karethi, who was in Mombasa then, and he said, can you arrange for ambulance to take the body to State House without anybody knowing? We got there by 10 o'clock, we were there. By this time, of course, the ministers were called. So there was a kind of a mini cabinet.
After the confirmation of the message, the broadcast was finally made that the founding president, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, was no more.
And Mr. Karethi drafted a message to be broadcast.
The call was then made to the Voice of Kenya, now KBC.
The message was actually very straightforward. It's been announced, yes sir, from State House, Nairobi, yes sir, that His Excellency the President, yes sir, passed on, disconnected. And that was, we got to set at 10 o'clock. There's 1:15. There's the time the message sank.
So, how did his career in the military begin? It all started when 5 Kenyans were secretly recruited to be trained by the Israel Air Force sometime in 1962.
So technically, the Air Force started maybe before independence. We were told you can apply to join the East African community, where they were to train air traffic controllers.
They were Dedan Gichuru, David Kanagi, Samuel Mukirai, Frederick Collins Omondi, and John Apudo. The training of these 5 young Kenyans would be the foundation on which the Kenya Air Force would begin after independence in Isili, then known as Royal Air Force.
When we got independence, the Air Force was started, and initially we started with 2 planes, Chipmunk, with instructors from Royal Air Force.
But even after independence, the Air Force was still majorly under the Royal Air Force officers.
Although we came from Israel as commissioned officers, we were not accepted as officers.
Mzee Jomo intervened and allowed for General Gichuru to assume full responsibility of the Kenya Air Force.
Mzee Kenyatta said, okay, if these people are doing what they're supposed to do, fly, why can't they take over? And he reduced the stay of the British by 2 years.
As the commander, Dedan was the man in charge of flying, maintenance, and administration.
When I took over, of course, there were not many challenges because flying-wise, I continue flying throughout. And I can tell you we had very good training by the British, both here and, of course, in UK.
He served as the commander from 1973 to 1980.
Promoted to full colonel and took over as the Air Force commander at the age of 30.
General Gichuru's years of flying were not without challenges.
So I was doing like 14 trips a day. After 2 weeks, I tore my cartridge. So when I went back to home, to base, my knee was swollen at bed.
Grounded not to fly again, a directive he did not heed to, and this decision sent him to theatre.
Later on, of course, in 1980, my leg became worse. So they removed, it's like ball bearing, because the cut, the meniscus had cut and it was rolling there. That's the one which was knocking. So they removed those.
Dedan Gichuru was the first ever indigenous Air Force commander, having taken over from the British when Kenya gained its independence in the year 1963. In 1985, he became the Chief of Staff, Defense Headquarters, and in 1989, he retired from the military. Reporting from Tigoni, Limuru in Kiambu County, I'm Nisi Imano.